All right. Welcome to the very first episode of the Live from the Black House podcast. I'm Darrell Douglas. And yeah, this is going to be something that we do every week. This is sort of a pilot, if you will. We want to give folks time to tune in. We want to see who's here joining. I see we have 2 viewers. If you could put the number 1 in the chat so I could shout you out. As you read in the intro, today is going to be all things SJL, all things Sheila Jackson Lee. If you were just tuning in, if you did not know, Sheila Jackson Lee, the late Honorable Congresswoman from the 18th Congressional District here in Houston, passed away and was laid to rest this week. There were 4 days of mourning. And, you know, there are a lot of Sheila Jackson Lee stories that I have, and there were just so much to share at the 4 days of, she laid in state on Monday. There was a community thing on Tuesday. There was something else on Wednesday. I think Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church was Wednesday. And then, of course, Thursday, there was the homegoing celebration at Fallbrook Church, where you heard from Al Sharpton, you heard from Kamala Harris, you heard from Bill and Hillary Clinton. Stevie Wonder played. Just so much that's going on. And, you know, at your typical homegoing celebration, they say, hey, we're keeping remarks to 2 minutes, and you usually can. But for such a force of a woman, such a force of not only an elected official, but so much of a mentor. And so you'll see that number going across the bottom right there, and you'll be able to call in a little bit, but you could also comment. Like if you comment right now, like we can interact this way. And so we're going to do this every Friday. I'm here at Sacred Stone Studios on Emancipation in 3rd Ward. An amazing place. Like they have everything set up. I basically just showed up. On my way here, I was rushing because it's the first episode and everything. And it was until I got out of my Uber, I realized I didn't have any cufflinks on. So there are no cufflinks. So don't comment about that. I know I don't have cufflinks on. Okay. Another thing that you'll see, I'm going to be sipping from this coffee every now and then, but no, please put your comments in and let me know if you plan on chiming in, which I hope that you do. I'm going to tell you a little bit of, I told you a little bit about myself already. I'm going to start over and kind of give you the gist of it. Again, my name is Darrell Douglas. I am a nonprofit founder. I am a house flipper, a car flipper, a serial entrepreneur. I'm a community organizer. I'm a doer. And now I can add podcast host, right? And so my journey into this work starts very interestingly. My very first job out of high school was working for the Texas prison system. So I was a correctional officer. And the reason why I ended up taking that job was because my mom had been laid off. And, oh, thank you, Rolinder. I see Weeping Wanda was watching the services the other day from a satellite location. So shout out to Rolinder Wright, who owns Wright Catering and Wright Counseling Therapy, something like that. She got a master's degree. She does Black mental health. But anyway, back to my story. My mom had been laid off. And for those of y'all who don't know, when you're laid off and you're like on unemployment for a while, they send you a letter that says, do not pass go, do not collect $200, like your payments end on X day. And so I knew that I couldn't go off to Sam Houston State University like Rolinder and my friend Maisha. I couldn't go to Prairie View A&M University like Jamie Sargent. I couldn't go to Texas A&M University like Terrence Edmond. No, I went to school online and I saw a billboard that said, work for TDCJ, make, I think it was like $2,000 a month. So I was like, this is what I am going to do. So I go home and I'm like, Mom, I figured it out. I'm going to be a CO. I'm going to work at the prison. She said, absolutely not. I said, look, I figured it out. I know exactly what it is that I want to do. I just need a ride to orientation. So somewhere between the ride from the house to orientation, my mom not only flipped for me, but she flipped for her too. And she signed up to be a CO as well. An interesting story. She retires this December with 20 years. Okay, back to my story. So I end up working for the prison system for 5 years. And you know how everything happens for a reason? And if you've ever heard that, I think it's the Mississippi Mass Choir, they have the song, Order My Steps in Your Word, Dear Lord. Look, I didn't say I was a singer, right? I said I was a podcast host, a house flipper, a car flipper, and a community organizer. Okay. But I do believe that my steps are ordered, and I believe that yours are too. And hopefully, as we continue with episodes of this, yes, the haircut is popping. Thank you, Deacon Williams. I'm going to give a shout out to Corey Barksdale at 2020 Cuts on Alameda, not too far from here. Shout out to Cousin Bebe, and it's Just Right Therapeutic Solutions. Rolinda just told me. But no, Corey gets me right every week. And because of y'all, I'm going to get my haircuts now on Fridays. I'll be nice and fresh. Yes, on Fridays. But back to my story. I end up working for the prison system for 5 years, and the stories that I heard from those who are incarcerated, the stories that I heard from their family members, the visitors, the things that I witnessed from the officers and my colleagues. I eventually promoted so I was 18 when I started. I think I made sergeant when I was like 21. And then I made lieutenant when I was 22. For those of y'all that know about TDCJ, I started at Ramsey 3, went to Jester 3, went to Central, and ended as a lieutenant on the Ramsey 2 unit. And it just reached a point, and maybe some of y'all can relate to this, where either on your job or whatever organization that you're part of, I believe we're all supposed to evolve, right? And sometimes things are just supposed to come to an end. And as we talk about Sheila Jackson Lee, I think that is such a beautiful thing too, because she wasn't supposed to live forever. None of us are going to live forever. But while you are here, you're supposed to do the things that you are ordered to do, right? So I get to the end of my 5 years, and this was like, I think when God speaks to you, he speaks to you as a whisper at first. And if you don't hear the whisper, it's audible. And then eventually it's a brick upside the head, right? So my brick upside the head was when you make 5 years working for TDCJ, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, they give you a certificate. So I had to like go to this meeting and, all the people that were getting 5, 10, 15, 20, everybody got their awards, right? So they give me my certificate for my 5 years, and I go back to my seat, and the guy next to me says, oh, like, they didn't frame it for you? And the guy next to him says, no, you get a framed one, you get a certificate at 5, you get a framed one at 10, you get a plaque at 15, and you get a grandfather clock at 20. And not to say that would not have been admirable work. As I say, my mom does it to this day. I think her steps are ordered as well. I think a lot of the guys at the unit where she works didn't get the beautiful mothering that I was able to get from my mother. They didn't get the counseling, or maybe in this point in their lives, that is what's best for them. And I know that in addition to doing what she's required to do, she's also that positive light at the unit where she is. Oh, no, your cousin. My mom calls you cousin Bebe. My auntie is saying that I should call her auntie, but that's an inside family joke. But I get to my 5 years, and that was my brick up against the head. And so I go to my mom and I'm like, I want to quit my job, but I have a plan, right? So I had saved like $10,000. I mean, I'm single. I'm not paying rent because when you work for the prison system, they give you a free house to live in on the unit. I'm not really paying any bills, so yes, I saved $10,000, and then I took my retirement contribution, and I was like, if you add them up, I should be able to live for 6 months. If everybody say if, put if in the comments. If I get to move back home, so I move back home. I sleep on the couch, sleep on my mom's couch. And it was cute for like the first 2 weeks. I had a story to tell. I quit my job. I'm going into politics. I'm going to change the world. Right? So after that 2 weeks, reality set in. And it's like, Ninja, you quit your job and you don't have a plan, right? When it really, let me tell you when it really hit. It really hit, I think I had, what was the name of that bank? They don't have them anymore. That's an unnecessary detail. But I had automatic alerts. So it would tell me like whenever I use my debit card and what my balance was. And I just remember swiping my card like maybe a month in and seeing the number. And I realized I had blown through like $4,000 in a month. And it was like, at this rate, you ain't got 6 months, right? So I started doubting myself. And while, this is going on, my mom is bringing me like applications, she's slamming cabinets around the house, Walmart is hiring, you need to get up off the couch, right? So I get invited to this Young Dems meeting, Harris County Young Democrats, and it was at Tacos A Go-Go right over there on Main Street. And so I go to this meeting, and it was kind of boring until the end when Erica Lee spoke. And I didn't know who Erica Lee was. She was this energized Black woman who was fired up about political engagement. And keep in mind, y'all, this is like 2010, so I'm fresh off the heels of the 2007, 2008 election of Barack Obama, that the first year of his term. So I'm like on a high, right? And so at the end of this meeting with Erica, I walk up to her and I'm like, hey, you spoke well. I would love to get involved. And when you tell an organizer that, they know exactly what, like, if you were to ask me right now, Darrell, I want to get involved. Trust me, I have somewhere to plug you in and I will. So she starts sending me these texts and emails about these different events. And I am, treating these events like my real job, right? So let's see, had the same issue Roni Escobar says. I'm going to these different events. I'm volunteering for free. Erica tells me to be there at 9. I'm there at 8:30, right? I'm treating this like a real job. And so I'm doing this for some weeks. And then finally, Erica tells me, she's like, the Latino Trailblazers Luncheon is a fundraiser. And I want you to sit at my table. You've been doing really good. And I want you to come to this event. So I'm like, bet. So on the day of the event, I drove a Mitsubishi Eclipse with messed up alignment because like it had low profile tires and I like hit a curb really bad one day. And so I was blowing through used tires like mad, right? So I'm headed to this event and I have a flat tire. And if you know Erica Lee, you know she's very punctual. And she likes details. And so I'm already at this point running late because I've had the flat. I'm getting it fixed. I have a spare. AAA is coming. We're good. Boom. I hop back in the car. I'm yet and still driving. And you will never guess what happened. I had another flat tire. who has two flat tires, right? So Erica is blowing my phone up, and at this point, I'm like, I can't answer the phone and tell her, because I already told her I had a flat, I'm on the way, I'm running late. I can't then say I've got another flat tire, right? Like, who believes that? So I pulled into the Galleria, right at the corner of Westheimer and 610. And I called my cousin Chris. I called my friend Tamisha. I called my mom. And y'all, this is 2010, so this is before Uber and Lyft, right? Nobody can pick me up. Erica is blowing up my phone. I mean, text. And I mean, I'm so nervous because I don't know, like, what to say, because she's not going to believe this. And so I finally say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go in the Galleria. They got a movie theater in there, and I'm just going to ignore this lady and never talk to her again, because this is an insurmountable thing to get over. And then I realized the event was at the Royal Sonesta Galleria. This is the Galleria. It can't be that far. So I put the address in my phone, and I see that it's like 1.3 miles away, right? Now keep in mind, this is 2010. This is 14 years ago, right? So this handsome face was a lot thinner, and this handsome body was a lot thinner too. So I took my blazer off. Actually, I was wearing a suit. I was wearing a tan suit with a yellow shirt. Horrible fashion. But hey, when you're young, you do stupid stuff, right? And I jogged all the way to the thing, right? So when I arrive, there's only 20 more minutes left in the event, right? And you know what it's like when you got to pee and you're coming in somewhere and you're hot and you're sweaty, and then you need to go and sign in, but you also need to pee. So then you go and you pee and you're discombobulated, and then you go over to the sign-in table and the lady is like, you know it's about to end. And I'm like, yeah, you know. And she looks and she gets my name tag and she points me in the direction of Erica's table, which was all the way at the front of the ballroom at the Royal Sonesta Hotel. And as I walk up there to the table, I realize the Congresswoman is sitting at her table. Yes, people. The gentle lady from Texas's 18th Congressional District, Goddess Braid Ablazoned, is sitting at Erica's table. Oh, this lady must be connected, I say, right? So 10 minutes later, the event ends, and all of a sudden, all these people are coming over to the table, and they're telling Erica how well her mother did. And I put two and two together. Sheila Jackson Lee was Erica Lee's mother. And at that moment, as like the planets are aligning, and there's like Radio Man with the formulas, at that moment, Erica Lee says, "Mother, this is Darrell, the young man I told you about, who's been doing such a great job." Sheila Jackson Lee, the Congresswoman, says, yes, young man. She's told me of your work. What are you doing these days? And y'all know that scene at the end of The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, where he's like crying and he can't even. That was me, right? I was like, I need job, right? And she scribbled some stuff down on a piece of paper. She took my number and she was like, be at this place at 9 a.m. on Monday. And the rest is history. So whether it is me whether it's me doing this podcast, whether it is me doing the work that I do in advocacy, whether it is the campaigns that I've worked on, it is all because of Sheila Jackson Lee, and that is my Sheila Jackson Lee story. And so the lines are open. Feel free to call in. I would love to hear your Sheila Jackson Lee story. Listen, y'all, this is my first episode. Let's make this good, right? Hey, Harold Hill. Um, hey Mimi. Uh, yeah, I'm a crier. And that's all right. Um, but yes, please call in. I would love to hear your Sheila Jackson Lee story. Oh, one more thing. If you put up the picture of that day that I just talked about, it is the picture of me with the hideous tan suit. Young gentlemen or gentlemen who don't know, you wear. Can we make it big? You're supposed to wear a darker suit to stuff like this. You're supposed to wear a darker suit. Y'all remember how much hell they gave Barack Obama for wearing a tan suit on Easter? That is the picture from that event right there. Look at that. Look at that. That was it. Everybody's got a picture like this with Sheila Jackson Lee. And hey, Allison. Hey, what's up, Chaz? Hey, Rayma. Yeah, so please call it. Call that number so I can talk to you and you can share your Sheila story. I know everybody's got one. Don't put your feet on the desk. What's up, Amaris? Amaris Abby, my classmate. What's up, Sade Donnell? Look at this. This is a LECJ class reunion. But call the number 281-734-5683. I would love to hear your Sheila Jackson Lee story. Another one as we wait on y'all to call. I'm not doing this show by myself, so y'all have to call. Somebody's got to call. Who's it going to be? Another interesting story. So 2 years later, I'm now working for Texas Organizing Project. After that season of doing campaign work, because of Sheila Jackson Lee, I ended up getting a gig working at the Capitol in Austin. And let me tell you how God works, because y'all heard the story. I worked at the prison, right? And at the beginning of every legislative session, the state senators and the state representatives are assigned their committees. So I ended up working for State Representative Dr. Alma Allen, who, listen, I will cut you over Dr. Allen. I will cut you over Annalise Vogel. Actually, Annalise has got married. I don't know her new name. But listen, Dr. Allen knew that she was going to be on the Public Education Committee because she's a former State Board of Education member. She's a former principal. She's a former teacher. She knew that, right? Whatever other committee she was going to be on, that's the committee that I was going to get to work with her on. If it was agriculture, insurance, I didn't care. I was just glad to have an ID card and to work at the Capitol, right? So on the day, it's a few weeks into the session where they announced the committees that people are going to. Guess what committee Dr. Alma Allen was placed vice chair of? The Corrections Committee, the committee that oversees the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. And I was a former lieutenant. So what was very interesting, again, I talk about ordered steps, because who would have thought of that? She didn't request it. It is literally where they placed her. What's up, Annie Rodriguez? So in a lot of the rooms, in a lot of the spaces, although I was a lowly legislative aide, because of my experience, I was able to speak from a point that only a lieutenant could speak from, right? So there would be some bills that were presented, and I'd wait till the meeting was over, and I'd be like, well, actually, here's why that wouldn't work. And I would give practical examples. So remember in the beginning when I was telling you I took this job working at the prison just because? Had it not been for that, I wouldn't have had that experience. Because there were a lot of other staffers on that committee where they had master's degrees in criminal justice and this and that, but none of them had actually walked the halls of a real prison. None of them had done a life endangerment or led a use of force. None of them had that practical experience. So wherever you are right now, it may not look like exactly what you want it to look like, but it may be preparation for what you're going to do later. And if you don't absorb and listen and be obedient to where you are right now, you will never get the next. You'll never get to the next step. And also, I will say, Also, I will say, what you do with a little, you can do with a lot. So if you are in a position where you don't have a lot of excess, let's just say, you know, yes, yes. Um, if you if you know how to take that $20 left that you have in your check after paying all your bills, and if you know how to go to Walmart or HEB and make that stretch, then you are ready for $20,000 extra. Because let me tell you this, if you don't know how to handle $20, you'll never get the opportunity to get the 20,000 or the 200,000. And you think about all those stories of people that um, all those people that won the lottery. Or here's a better, let me give you a better one. You know, the business owner of the restaurant that you love, and the dad is the founder, right? So the grandfather is the founder. He's up early, opening the store. Think of the Breakfast Club, right? Marcus Davis, right? Marcus Davis is a hustler. Okay, you go in the Breakfast Club, you wouldn't know that he was the owner because he's probably got a mop in his hand or he's at the register or something like that. But what happens if the father or the grandfather or the grandmother or the mother passes it to the children, but the children had sheltered lives, number one, or let's be honest, in some cases they pick up some habits, right? And it goes down the tubes. I can think of some local examples, but I will not name them, right? Because we're not trying to be that kind of a show. But if you know, you know. Yes, if you can do a lot with a little, you'll be given the opportunity to do a little with a lot. And so, yeah, there's my. Go ahead. Call in. Yes, Raymond Lee. No work ethic is a lot of times what ends up happening. There's one restaurant in particular that I'm thinking of that was in Fifth Ward. It's in Fifth Ward. It's still in Fifth Ward. And all of a sudden, it was like they're not opened on Mondays, like at all. And it was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, why? And the person was like, because a lot of people don't come on Mondays. Well, it's like, if you're not there consistently, then people won't come. But yeah, that's kind of how that works. Go ahead. I'm ready for calls now. Go ahead and call that number 281-734-5683. Also put in the comments how you think this is going. Give me recommendations on what you think I should call this. And also, if you would like to be there, y'all can't see it, but there's a couch over here. If you would like to be one of the join me for a podcast, that would be great. But yes, we're going to get to the special election. We're going to get to actually talking about the process to replace Sheila Jackson Lee and those who have announced. So if there are no Sheila stories, we will move on to the very interesting. First of all, no one will replace Sheila Jackson Lee. It is who will hold the seat of the 18th Congressional District of Texas, but no one can replace Sheila Jackson Lee, right? No one can actually do that. Let's talk about some of what has been talked about. I'm going to open this text. Let me tell y'all, my text messages have been going bananas. So here is the way that this will work. There will be, when someone passes away after the primary, right, but before the general election in the state of Texas, it's the precinct chairs of each party that get to choose who replaces that person on the ballot, right? So precinct chairs, Antonio Maldonado is one of them for the Garden Villas 0133 or something like that. I don't know. And there probably are some precinct chairs in the chat as well. These are people that are elected by their local party, be it Democrat or Republican. And so whoever the Democrat is that is nominated for that seat is who will hold that seat. They get to go on the ballot. And let me tell you, in the 18th Congressional District, Donald Duck could be on there and win. This can of HEB Nitro Brew coffee could be on the ballot and win. So basically, whoever this small group of people chooses is who will replace them. There will be a forum for the nominees on October the 10th. So they are moving really quick with this because today is October the 2nd, right? And basically, the person who gets more than 51% of the precinct chairs gets to decide. And this is a very small group of people. This is like 100 people, 150 people. And so far, we've seen this number of people that have announced. Go ahead and put that first person up there. I don't remember the order of them that we talked about before. Amanda Edwards. So this one is not surprising. Amanda Edwards, former city council member. She was an at-large city council member. She served one term, and if y'all remember, she decided not to run for a second term and instead ran for U.S. Senate. She raised 7 figures. She was not successful in that race, but she did build a lot of contacts. I can say that Amanda Edwards, younger voice, right? I can say if you were to Google AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha, right? This is the face that you get, right? This is what AKAs sort of look like. I'm not gonna say a lot because I don't want to get in trouble. My father's wife is an AKA. Carla Brown is an AKA. I know a lot of really cool AKAs, but she's got an amazing background. And she ran actually against Sheila Jackson Lee this last time around. Of course, as expected, Sheila Jackson Lee trounced Amanda Edwards. But here's the good thing about the way that Amanda Edwards ran that race. She never took it dirty from what I could tell. She never played dirty. She never got negative with that campaign, which of course allows her to still go into this race. Had this been a different race, had this been an actual race on the ground with all the voters of the 18th congressional district, the voters getting to choose, I would say she would be for sure in a spot, one of the 2 spots for a runoff. However, I'm going to just guess, actually, July has told me there are about 200 precincts in CD 18. Many are vacant without chairs. So think about that. So about 80 to 90 actual chairs will decide. 80 to 90 people will decide who will be the next member of Congress for the 18th congressional district. Let's put that next person up there. I do not think that, because you have to think about who is a precinct chair. These are usually party loyalists, okay? I would say on the verge of cult members. I mean, these precinct chairs, Antonio Maldonado is one of them. And cult member kind of describe, I'm kidding. Let's put that next picture up there. So I think Amanda would be great. I just don't think if I had to guess, if I had to bet, like if I had to put like my net worth at the roulette wheel, I would say I think she would be great. I just don't think that's where the precinct chairs would go. Next, Dr. Letitia Plummer, right there. If you could see Dr. Letitia Plummer, at-large city council member. And let me tell you this. Out of the list, I've actually had one-on-one conversation with each of these people, right? I have worked with, in some capacity, each of these 4 people, and I have nothing. Well, I do have some negative stuff to say about a couple of them, and you'll see when I get there. But I will say that this lady right here, of those who have announced, or of those that have, I don't think she's actually announced. I think there is a sort of a group of people that are pushing her to do it, and I think she has said that she is considering it. Dr. Plummer, please do it, and here's why. If you know anything about my work, if you know anything about my work for police accountability, if you know anything about my work for, like, totally redefining the way we look at justice. Letitia Plummer has demonstrated what I think is necessary to, as close as possible, represent the 18th congressional district based on the void that is filled. And here's why I would choose her over, and again, I'm nothing against Amanda Edwards. I think Amanda Edwards is great, and if she wins, like, great. Like, I think in any of the four that we're going to talk about, I think any of them are fine. But here's why I like Dr. Letitia Plummer. She, if y'all remember when there was the talk about reallocating funds for the budget, she was the one that stepped out, right? I can also tell you that when Mayor Turner, when Sylvester Turner was mayor at the time, and he was putting together a task force, and for those of y'all that are in the comments and watched that and remember that, you'll remember that I didn't have very positive things to say about the task force, because task forces are usually where stuff goes to die, right? You put a little group together, they meet over coffee for a few weeks, everybody put their comments in the Google Doc, right? And nothing ever gets implemented. And by the time, and I think it was like 90 days of task force, nothing got done. Dr. Letitia Plummer reached out and she was like, I want to put you on it. And I said, Dr. Plummer, now, you know, if you put me somewhere, you're not going to be able to call me and tell me to behave, right? Not that I'm going to be intentionally facetious or intentionally a table shaker. However, if a table needs to be shaken, I gotta shake it, right? And I will always be respectful. I will always keep it 100. I will never get personal. It's always on the facts, on the politics. And yeah, like I told her, like, I don't want you to nominate me and then like I'm on the task force and you get an email that I was shaking things up. She was like, no, that's why I want to send you. Now, of course, anybody who knows anything about politics knows Sylvester Turner was not going to let me be on that task force, right? I'm part of the turn up crew, right? And so as expected, there was a different list of people, but I will say Letitia Plummer has been consistent, right, in reaching out to not only my organization, but a lot of other organizations. And I think if the Democratic Party wants to like really move forward and excite things, and I think if the city of Houston and Harris and Fort Bend counties want to really walk the walk, like Sheila walked the walk, I really love the idea of Congresswoman Letitia Plummer. She's going to be able to raise a lot of money. She's already demonstrated she's great at engaging orgs and people. Absolutely. And here's the thing. Let me tell you something. It's not her sending a staffer to call. She will call you, right? And that is 100%, I will say, reminiscent of the Congresswoman who would call you from an unknown. Raise your hands in the chat if you've gotten that unknown caller at 1 a.m. and you knew what it was about. Before you answered it, and you answered it, and it was the Congresswoman, and you did what she said, and everything sort of worked out. So that is Councilmember Letitia Plummer, who I think could like really do some things. Let's put the next contestant up. Mayor, the second black mayor of the city of Houston, Mayor Sylvester Turner. I first met Sylvester Turner when he was Representative Turner. Jeff Siptak, who worked for him, is a good friend. I will say Auntie Mary Benton, who is the current press secretary for Mayor John Whitmire, was actually a very, I would call him a mentor up until a point. I actually remember being at one of these churches. I want to say it was like Mount Hebron or Greater St. Matthews or something like that. And this is when he was still a representative. And Shakira and I were like, you know, this was 10 years ago, and we had just started Houston Justice, and he had given some really good advice, and he sat down with us and he talked about, how he ended up creating an organization because I think the existing organization didn't want it. So it was really reminiscent of like what we were going through at the time. I will say this. As I said before, I think any of the four, and that includes Mayor Sylvester Turner, would be great for this seat. Amanda Edwards, Letitia Plummer, Sylvester Turner. However, at what point do you say, I've done a lot. I've been mayor of the fourth largest city in the nation for 4 years, and it would be great to let somebody else do this. It would be great to start a nonprofit and use my connections and my know-how and my network to push others forward, right? It would be great to mentor the next generation so that when my time is up, there is a cadre of potential replacements who are prepared to take my place. Wouldn't it be awesome to go and be a guest lecturing professor at Texas Southern University or Rice? Go to Rice. Rice took Anise Parker. Like, that's what you do. Okay, for those of y'all that are in politics, you already know this. For those of y'all that are not, here's the way it kind of works. If you're the press secretary for the White House, it's understood if you're under a Democratic president, you're going to get a show on MSNBC. If you're under a Republican president, you're going to get a show on Fox News. That's just the way it works, right? If you are mayor of Houston, Rice has a ton. The Kinder Institute, they do great work. Go do that. Please, sir, go do that. Now, granted, yeah, look at Rice took Judge Ed Emmett. Yes, Rice took Judge Ed Emmett. Dr. Candace Matthews said no to TSU. No TSU. Yes, go to Rice. Go to Rice. Put on an annual symposium. Go on a speaking tour. I can help. I speak nationally. I know some. I will put your calendar together. Please. I'm asking Sylvester Turner to pull a Joe Biden and step aside. Because here's what is about to happen. And again, y'all, it would not be the end of the world, okay? It would not be the end of the world. Here's what's about to happen. Former Mayor Sylvester Turner is about to lock this up. Okay? It's a done deal. No one has more genuine relationships with people. Everybody's got a Sheila Jackson Lee story. Everybody's got a Sylvester Turner story. And I think it is genuine. I think he has a way of communicating that is bar none. I think Sylvester Turner is on fire. And I mean, you talk about code switching. I've heard him on the floor of the House, of the Texas House of Representatives, at the Capitol. And I've heard him at somebody's auntie's funeral. And I've heard him at a rally. And I think there are very few people as charismatic, as enthusiastic, and I think it is all genuine. Don't get me wrong. And I think if this race were to happen today, whether it be, if it was the precinct chairs, I think he's got it locked up. I think if it was an actual race, I could see him going into a runoff with Amanda Edwards, and I could see him taking it. I could see him taking it either way. Again, with all due respect. And I have nothing, I disagree with some of his policy stances and some of the things that he did as mayor, but he is not a horrible politician. He's not a horrible person. And I think if this is where we end up, that's fine. Right? I think that's fine. July says, what if, let me tell you something. If Erica announces that she's running, that's it. That's it. I will do everything that I can to help Erica. And I think Erica Lee, listen, I think Erica Lee would be an amazing member of Congress. I think it is really early to like expect, and y'all, I mean, I know Congresswoman, yes, a huge statue of a woman, right? In every sense of the word, but 4 days, that's got to be hard on the family. It's got to be hard on the family. This is being recorded, so I'm telling y'all right now, when it's time for me to meet my maker, okay, I don't want a long service. And I don't, in fact, can we just have an open bar at like, insert place here, but like a restaurant and just do that. But no, I think that was a lot. Ann Rosenwinkel, consistent. Let me tell you something. I'm going to take a little detour. When you talk about allies, Ann Rosenwinkel consistently shows up, pulls out her credit card, donates, and like, yeah, love you, Ann. But back to Sylvester Turner, the Mayor Sylvester Turner. I don't think it would be horrible. I'm just hoping on behalf of the next generation, not even that. Here's what's bad. I'm 37. Okay. You don't see any gray in my beard because Corey Barksdale does enhancements. So he like puts a little bit of dye on my beard to like knock out the gray so it can look good for y'all today. But I have gray in my beard and I'm 37. I'll be 38 next month. And yes, I will be hosting something really cool. I haven't figured out what that's going to be, but we're not the next generation. The next generation should be the 17 and 18-year-olds. But see, we've got a problem. We've got a problem not only in Harris County, Houston, not only in the state of Texas, across the United States. Something's clogged up, right? You ever eat something and it just doesn't just doesn't pass through? Something is clogged up and we need the flow to happen, because until like some people, and I'm not saying move out of the way and like start smelling like mothballs and like playing bingo and doing the line dancing at the senior center. You don't have to do that, but there is another level for you. So if you go do that, then like the 40-year-olds, the 50-year-olds can like do that, and then it'll make room. Because here's what's happening. Let me tell you what's happening. We have people, and y'all, the number is that I'm surprised nobody's going to call. Please call in, right? I had to pull a Jeb Bush. Please call. But what's going to happen, we're going to consistently have to swoop in and do some last minute stuff to like clear, to put some people in. And I think it's better if go ahead and call again, Antonio. Do it. Go ahead and if, you know, it'll be that much easier. The last person, let's go to this last page. I also think that Sylvester Turner would raise a whole lot of money. I think he would be great in that seat. And lastly, City Council Member Dwight Boykins. Councilmember Dwight Boykins, who ran at large and then ran for District D. I want to say he was elected to Houston City Council District D in 2013. He was in a contentious runoff with one of my favorite people, Assata Nicole Richards, one of my favorite third wardians. Assata Nicole Richards of the Sankofa Institute. And he ended up winning that seat. I think he did great. I would consider him also one of my mentors. In fact, if you do a Google search right now for Darrell Douglas on like YouTube, like if you did a search, you'll see where I interviewed him in 2013 for that seat. I reached out. I was like, hey, I'm doing this YouTube thing. Can I come and interview you? He was like, sure, right? Went to Dallas Jones's office at the time. That's who ran his campaign, and Elite Change LLC, and did the interview. And Dwight Boykins, as a matter of fact, I just called Dwight Boykins maybe a month ago for something, and he picked up and he answered, and I think he would be a phenomenal member of Congress. Oh, they're saying that it's busy when they call in. It's going straight to voicemail. I don't know if in a backstage in the green room we can make that happen. Tina Kingshill says, yes, we're not preparing. Oh, try again. They say try again. Yes, we're not preparing the next generation. At some point, the old guard needs to impart their wisdom, then go home and play with their grandkids. Play with your grandkids. You know what? That's part of what's wrong with society now, right? Because growing up, I actually spent time with my grandparents. We played outside. I was just having this conversation the other day, and I was saying in the Black community, we used to have family reunions. I remember when I had to be like 10 or 11 years old, and on my father's side of the family, we used to go to Huntsville like every year or every other year. But I just remember it was way out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, this was country. And I remember the first year that they actually let me play at the adults domino table. And looking back at it, they let me win. They were building my confidence. And yes, absolutely. Yes, thumbs up to that. We need more of that in the community, and I think Dwight Boykins would be great. I think he'd be a great member of Congress, and I think he's got a lot of relationships. A lot of people don't know this, but when Dwight Boykins, even while he was on city council and even afterwards, Dwight Boykins is a pickup truck kind of guy. He's out cutting seniors' yards. That's the stuff that gets you to win a seat like this, right? Like, it's those relationships that really make a pretty big difference. July says, a young man I've been calling congressman since the first day we met. He's smart, he cares, and he would galvanize people across generations. Who are you talking about? July? And also, Adrian Bell. Let me tell y'all something. We need to send Adrian Bell to Congress, too. She's not in the 18th. She's not in the 18th Congressional District. But she is running as well. Dennis Ray Griffin. Amazing. These are the people who we need to elect, because here's what's going to start happening. Let me tell you something. If you know me from 15 years ago, well, okay, no, not 15. 15 would be 2009. Even 2009. If you knew me 2009, 2012, I was way more active in politics. And then somewhere around 2018, I was like, let me get out here and make some money. Let me go and sell some let me go and buy and flip some houses, right? And I'm not using mortgages, right? All my stuff is cash buy, right? Yes. So I don't owe no mortgages on the houses that I own. And I said, let me go make some money. I'm gonna stop going to these little meetings because they won't get out of the way. And we can't let that happen too much more often. Antonio, call back. They're telling you to call back. But absolutely, I think Dennis Ray Griffin would be great. Let's look into some of these comments. Christina Morales is running. Christina Morales, the state representative, does she have to give up her seat to run? I mean, I don't really know Christina Morales, but good luck. Good luck. You're gonna need it with this list, Christina. This list, this four. All right, Antonio. Thoughts?
What's up, Mr. Douglas?
Antonio Mama, what are your thoughts with these races? And do you have a Sheila?
I'm partial
to
Christina Morales just because I'm a Latino, but I'm not in the district. But I will say this. Whether she wins or loses, I'm happy that she has announced and that she's going to run because of the demographics of the district.
Okay.
District 18 is not all black like people think.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of everything. There's a little bit of white. There's a little bit of Asian, but it is predominantly African American, Black American. But it is also predominantly mixed with Latino, Hispanic, Chicano, Tejano people. So that's going to be very interesting. That's going to be very interesting.
Do you know, Antonio, is your precinct in the 18th, or are you in Congresswoman Garcia's district?
Neither. I'm in Al Green's district. I got redistricted. My congressional district was Sylvia Garcia.
So they got this all mixed up.
My commissioner was Rodney Ellis, which is now Adrian Garcia. I'm in precinct 2 now for commissioner. And Sylvia Garcia was my congresswoman, but now I have a congressman, which is Al Green, which he's a great congressman. I love Congressional District 9. You know, and I think Al Green is a great congressman. And I love Sylvia Garcia as well.
Yes.
But Christina Morales, like I said, I love the fact that there is a Latina running in that race.
Did she actually announce? When did she announce?
She announced today via Facebook.
Okay.
She direct messaged me and other precinct chairs.
I see it.
And she has announced. It was also on the Channel 11 News.
Wow. You're absolutely right.
So I'm very proud of her, whether she wins or loses. I think that there should be a Latino in every single election. As a matter of fact, for our population to be, I think we are almost 60% in the city of Houston. I'm guesstimating. These are not accurate numbers. But we are the majority in the city of Houston and in Harris County, yet we are underrepresented in everything. We hardly have any Latino judges, and the ones that we did have got voted out, you know. So, you know, I'm glad to see that the sleeping giant is waking up, and that is the Latino population. As a Hispanic, Latino, Chicano, Tejano activist, she's gonna. I think she would do great to be a congresswoman. Will she win? I don't know, because I mean, you got great candidates like Amanda Edwards. You've got Letitia Plummer. I love me some Letitia Plummer. You cannot say nothing bad about Letitia Plummer to me. I love me some Amanda, because Amanda has the will to serve. She's like the little choo-choo, you know. I think I can. She's run for a lot, you know, and, you know, hopefully her heels won't run down after this election. Who knows? Maybe she will be the next congresswoman. It would be great, since she does have the experience and she did start out. Mayor Turner, you know, he has the experience serving, you know, in the House and serving as mayor. He would be a good candidate. And I say that lightly and loosely. He would be a good candidate. Don't know if he would be a great congressman like Craig Washington.
I think he would be. Like, I don't think, like, my point to him wasn't that I didn't think that he could do it. Not only do I think he can win, I think he would actually do a great job. I just think sometimes you give it to somebody else. Like the other day,
yeah, exactly.
You know, I was offered a contract to do some stuff, to do some work, and I was like, you know what? I would love to take this, but I know who could really gain and learn from this, and who this could elevate. And I think more people need to do that, you know?
I think that this position requires somebody who is experienced and seasoned.
Let's put that list up. Let's put that new photo up of everybody. They're about to put up can we make it a little bigger? So these are candidates for the 18th. This is from, looks like Channel 13, probably, because they use that blue schematic. So we have 6 candidates. We have Amanda Edwards, who we've talked about. We have Sylvester Turner. We have Dwight Boykins. Why are y'all making this so hard? Jarvis Johnson
is going to be very hard.
Jarvis Johnson is amazing as well.
Yes, he is.
Let me tell you, Jarvis Johnson's every session, not only session, but even in the off season, his mother is amazing. Oh my
Yes.
God.
Miss Cleo.
Miss
Shout out to Miss Cleo.
Let me tell you, not the calling me out, the different Miss Cleo. Cleo Johnson. Let me tell you, she is the real deal. She answers the phone. She's an organizer. She is on the ground. I think he would be great. And wouldn't that be a story?
Yes, it would.
He runs for state senate and is eclipsed by a mere 7 or 8 votes. He gave up his state rep seat to run for because you can't run in both, right? And then to become the next congressman for the 18th congressional district. I think this list that y'all are looking at, there's not a bad word that I can say about any of them. Literally, my points.
No, they're all great.
Yes,
but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that hands down, it'll be Turner and one of the other candidates in a runoff. Mm-hmm. But which one? It could be Plummer. It could be Amanda. Mm-hmm. It could be Christina. It could be Jarvis. Mm-hmm. You know, they're all wonderful cats. Even Dwight. I love Dwight. Dwight was a great council member.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And all of them are great candidates. I mean, it's wonderful to see all of them stepping up. But I want to talk about Isaac Martin. Mm-hmm. Isaac Martin, I don't know his direct position, but if you know Isaac Martin is a young Gen Zer. He is vocal, opinionated. Mm-hmm. He has fresh, new ideas, you know, and he worked hard for the Congresswoman.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
It would be nice if he would throw his name in. Would he win? Most likely not, because people want somebody who is experienced and seasoned.
But Antonio, I was just giving this advice to someone who, a young woman who's got a huge future, who was supposed to join me today, actually. She's got a huge future. Okay. She asked me if I thought that she should run because she wanted to throw her hat in. And this is what I told her. I said, at best, you win, right? At worst, it was the greatest job interview for this. And I mentioned Joaquin Martinez, who, if you remember, Joaquin ran, if you remember, I forget the state senator's name, who passed away in 2012 or 2011. He ran
for Senate District 6 Senator.
SD6, yeah.
For Mario Gallegos.
Mario Gallegos passes away, and Joaquin enters his name. He did not win, but everyone noticed him. Everyone noticed him.
Yeah, everybody noticed Joaquin.
And I think that, you know, he went from running for that seat to eventually working for a council member to becoming chief of staff for a council member, and he's now a council member, right? So I think, you know, for those, and then the next piece of advice that I gave to her, and that's for anyone that's listening, if Barack Obama had listened to advice, right? If Sheila Jackson Lee, when she first ran, had listened to other people's advice, she would not be, neither of them would have won, right? So that's got to be a decision that you make, and you have to think about the long game in it. I see Pedro Valencia saying, if I lived in the 18th, Plummer would be my choice. Unfortunately, I see a Turner Boykin runoff. Here's the thing, Pedro. There's a small group of people. So I talked about this earlier, but there are more people on now, so we'll explain it again. It's actually a small group of precinct chairs. There are maybe 80 or 90 or so. July McShay, who's a professor, she's in the comments, and she mentioned the exact number. A lot of these seats are open. You can actually become a precinct chair if that spot is open, right? It's too late now for this race, but that small group of people will choose who replaces Sheila Jackson Lee on the ballot. And whoever's on the ballot that's a Democrat is going to win, right? Like my iPhone, you can put my phone on the ballot and it would win in November. So,
but Darrell, not to interrupt, but the governor just called a special election, and he's having it on the same day that we're voting.
Well, but here's the thing.
Other elections.
So there are two things that are going to happen. To replacing Sheila Jackson Lee on the ballot, which is the election for the next 2 years, will happen by precinct chair. Now, the governor just announced a special election to complete her term on November the 5th. So here's what's about to happen. You're going to have a race on November 5th to complete her term, which ends in January. Right? Am I making sense?
Right.
So there's going to be the race on November 5th, and y'all know it's going to be a runoff, right? So the runoff is going to be in December, and then that person is going to serve from like December 8th to January whatever.
Right.
It's going to be a month.
It's going to be what? 6 weeks, a month?
Not
2
even.
weeks?
It's going to be maybe a month. So that's not the person that's going to be the Congress person.
Yeah,
and I'll give you. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Do y'all remember that Gene Locke actually replaced Franco Lee before Senator Elliott? Right? You don't even remember it, right? So
he got appointed, didn't he?
Yeah, he was appointed, yes, by the commissioners. But what the point that I'm making there is he served in the interim, and it was Rodney Ellis who actually took the 4 years, right? So it's who the precinct chairs choose that will take the 2 years. And anyone, if you, I know the politicos, I'm preaching to the choir, but if you do not know, it is almost an insurmountable task to take down an incumbent. Not impossible, but whoever gets on the ballot, you got 2 years to go to dinners, baby showers, fish fries, backpack giveaways, to make proclamations, to speak from the floor. In 2 years, you got to run against that, right? And absent.
That was the case.
Go ahead.
That was the case with Penny Morales-Shaw. Remember, former HISD trustee Anna, I can't think of her last name, I think it was Eastman.
Yes.
She got the nomination, and she was the incumbent for about 2 weeks.
Well, so it was,
and Penny Morales-Shaw,
actually ran and won. Well, yes, Penny Morales-Shaw beat her, and that was a nail biter as well. But you're right, very similar situation. She got to serve the duration of the term, but she didn't actually serve the next time. So, they did say, and it's been Adrian Bell who's been keeping me up to date with all of this. There's going to be a forum on August the 10th where the nominees, location unknown, supposed to be open to the public, and the vote will actually be on October the 13th, right? August 13th. So they're moving at a very fast pace. That is roughly 10 days away. We will know who that person is. Y'all, look at the number. It's 281-734-5683. Would love to, I don't know if we could three-way somebody in, but this list over here is not a bad list. You've got Amanda Edwards, former Mayor Sylvester Turner, former City Council member Dwight Boykins. You've got Jarvis Johnson, who was a City Council member and a state representative. You've got at-large City Council member Letitia Plummer, and you've got State Representative Christina Morales, who runs a funeral home, right? Morales Funeral Home, if I'm not mistaken.
She does run Morales Funeral Home. She inherited from her grandparents, and her grandparents were great community leaders within the East End community, and she has done a great job being a state representative. I really like her, and I really like Letitia, and I really, really like Sylvester Turner as well.
I think they will
all be great. They're all good. All of them, even Jarvis and Dwight. It's going to be hard. I'm glad I don't live in that district.
Here's what I will say. Aside from, Mayor Turner, who has my only point with him is that it's like after you've been mayor, mayor of the fourth largest city. That's great, and thank you so much for your service. My only point for him was so someone else could get it. I do think that he would be beneficial if he were to get the seat for the 18th Congressional District. And here's why. I think when you have someone, now let's look at both sides. When you have someone who has legislative experience, executive municipal experience, and all of the connections, right? When you have a mayor who's able to pick up when you have a member of Congress who's able to, on day one, text, FEMA or EPA or whoever, that is huge for the congressional district. And I also think that, I don't think Mayor Turner would hold it forever, right?
No, because he's up there in age, and from rumor has it about his health.
Well, let's not, I don't think it should be a choice made merely on that, right?
As far as I know, his health is not deteriorating anymore. because he recently had keloids removed from his face, and then in order for you to have any type of surgery, when you have cancer, you have to make sure the cancer is gone. So I've heard that his cancer is gone, and he recently had surgery. So
and
his
that's
health
probably
should be pretty well.
Right, and that's probably the reason. That's probably the reason why he entered. Right, because he feels that he's good enough to run. I did just get information. The Southeast Democrats Network and Black Women of Greater Houston PAC is having a candidate forum. Y'all get ready, right? Because winter is coming. Everybody and their mama is about to have a forum, right? And people are they're about to be tested, right? Can you hit 10 events on a Saturday, 12 events on a Saturday?
Shit, that is a lot.
Hey, let's watch your mouth. Let's not cuss. This is a clean show. But Saturday, August 10th at 12:30, they're having a reception. At 1 p.m., there is the program, and this is the Defender Network, and Fox 26. So there are two of them that are doing this. You got the Democratic Party. I mean, there's a lot. The Civic Clubs. You got everybody. Pleasantville Voter League, District B United, We the People of Sunnyside, the District B United, or to say that, Museum Park Neighborhood Association. They're putting that on, and that is going to be great. I think more of those things need to happen where people can actually, and yes, Larry McKenzie also talked about that. Larry McKenzie, who is a celebrity in his own right in the public education space. I think we need people like that, people like Larry McKenzie. I think July McShay. Let me scroll through here. Aisha Karoma, Robert Williams, right? I think we need a hodgepodge. So, I think it's best when we have something for everybody, right? So like I had a meeting earlier today at the Black House, and the logo is right there. Can you put the Black House logo up there so they could see? And I'll tell y'all why I call it the Black House. I call it, long story short, I used to do comms for this organization called TOP, and I used to have to write press releases, and they would get really boring because it's hard to make something interesting like municipal finance or So I started writing these satirical press releases from like my life, and instead of the White House, I called it the Black House. So I call my apartment the Black House. Whenever I'm on a Delta flight, it's not Delta Flight 1, 2, 3, 4. It's Black Force One. So that's sort of the thing that has kept going. Again, y'all call in and join me and Antonio, 281-734-5683.
I have a suggestion, sir, for the name of your show.
Go ahead.
Has a good little ring for it. I think I would call it Tea Time at the Black House.
Tea Time at the Black House. Okay, we will put that. I like that. I actually like that. We'll put that in consideration. And again, y'all, we're going to do this every Friday until I get tired. Either until y'all get tired of me or until I get tired of y'all, right? But please pick up the phone and call in. You know what it probably is? A lot of people are watching from their phones, so they can't.
That's what I'm doing right now. I was going to watch from my phone.
That's probably what they're doing. July, yes, we need to collaborate sooner rather than later. July also says she disagrees. A lot of seasoning being presented is old and stale. We need new blood that is bold, not seeking permission, but truly making a difference. I will say that. It's not just about like, and Antonio, I'm not sure if you, are you still there? I just heard a beep in my ear. I'm new to this, y'all. Thank you for being patient. And put one word in the comment that describes sort of how you think this is going so far. But I do think we've got to prepare not just the next generation. When I say next generation, I'm not talking about age-wise. You got some 50, 60, 70-year-old people who haven't been in politics that need to be part of boards and commissions and city councils and school boards, et cetera, et cetera. So, absolutely would love to see it. But yes, go ahead.
What was that candidate that you managed? What was her name? A young lady. Was it Aisha Wilson?
I didn't manage Aisha Wilson.
Was that who it was? I don't remember her name, but she was a young lady. I think you managed her. I don't remember what she ran for though.
Okay. We got somebody else that's joining.
Oh, wonderful.
Who's on the line?
Yeah, it's Anne.
Anne, how's it going, Anne?
Good. I just wanted. So I'm here listening as a precinct chair, as I mentioned, and so I heard you talk about Dwight Boykins being a pickup truck kind of guy and out in the neighborhood, and then Larry McKinsey said something about that's who the kind of. I think he's saying that's the kind of person who should have this position. And I'm wondering who, other than Dwight Boykins, who else has really been in there, rolling up their sleeves, doing the work.
Are you one of the precinct chairs in CD 18?
Not in CD 18.
Not in 18. Can we put that back up there, y'all? Can we put the list with all of them back up there again? So we'll go through this again, and I talked a little bit about each of them, but I'll do it again. The ones I'll go back specifically to what you said about those who've been like hands on. Dwight Boykins, of course. I will also say Letitia Plummer. Councilmember Letitia Plummer, literally like, and this is what I gauge people on. It's not about, did they invite me to the Christmas party? Did they? No. When the going gets tough, who are people that, right? And I would say Letitia Plummer is definitely one of those people. And Jarvis Johnson. Not only his staff, not only him, but then you have his mother, Miss Cleo Johnson, who I just talked to her, she'll randomly, she's always in the loop. And I think some people, they get elected and then, they put their feet up and they go to brunch. These are people who have continued to do that. Not to say that Amanda Edwards, Mayor Turner, or Christina Morales haven't, but those are the three that I can personally say, and I'm not even talking about stuff that I've seen on Facebook. I'm talking about literally. Jarvis Johnson. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way about Letitia and Jarvis.
Let's
let Ann chime in, Antonio.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Well, that's what I say. I was listening to the YouTube video of Sheila Jackson Lee's memorial, and the stories of, her from the Jamaican ambassador about her sitting in a corner of an airport, reassuring the whole country of Jamaica with the pandemic, and then sticking with this, the one from Diapol about sticking with this woman who was being deported and stopping the plane on a tarmac. I mean, I guess to me, those are great stories of power and tenacity, and I'm wondering, I know those are streets too big to be filled, but who of these candidates has that kind of sensibility, kind of fierce commitment, and is out there in the streets doing that work?
Absolutely. And I said this earlier about Mayor Turner. I do think he's in a very unique place to, taking everything else aside, the fact that he's been mayor and, I think the fact that he already has a lot of these connections, I think the learning curve would be a lot shorter. Now, whether that's a positive or negative thing, that's, subjective. But I don't think any of the 6 people that are up here would be great members of Congress if this group of 80 people, I bet their phones are blowing up. Can you imagine being one of them?
Oh, yeah, and my phone is.
I've gotten some calls, and I'm like,
tell them to call me.
Huh?
Tell them to call me. I'd love to talk to them.
Yeah. I'm like, hey,
been there, done that.
I'm like, hey, I got a nonprofit that's doing really good work. But absolutely, and thank you for everything that you do. It's a lot of people behind these people, right? So when you think about Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, her staff, wow. Okay? Not put through the ringer, but she commanded. I mean, it's been said that if you could work for her, you could work for anyone. And in fact, one of my friends who worked for her in D.C. is now the press secretary for the EPA, Remington Belford. And he started with Sheila Jackson Lee. So I think, you know, all roads lead back to Sheila Jackson Lee in some point or another. And the person who doesn't replace her, because I don't think anybody can ever replace Sheila Jackson Lee, but whoever takes the 18th congressional district has some big shoes to fill. Jalad McShay asked, Amanda worked for her. I think so. I think Amanda Edwards worked for her.
Amanda did work for her, Darrell. She started off in her office as an intern.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's how she started off her political career. But I will say this, when I think of Sheila Jackson Lee, before she passed away, obviously, not now, I think of the movie The Devil Wears Prada.
Okay.
Because if you could work for the editor of Vogue, which is Miranda, well, not Miranda Priestley, but that movie was loosely based on
Anna Wintour,
the editor of Vogue magazine.
Yeah.
And it's been proven that if you can work for her, you can work in the industry.
Absolutely.
Same thing goes for Sheila Jackson Lee. If you can work 1 year at Sheila's office without messing up or getting fired.
No, you're going to get messed up. You're going to mess up and you're probably going to get fired, but you'll get a call 2 days later and you'll be better because of it.
I mean, look at Ivan Sanchez. He runs a millennial empire.
No, he doesn't run a millennial empire. Ivan Sanchez runs an empire, period.
Period. And Ivan Sanchez is one of the big wigs.
Well, I wouldn't say he's a big wig. Like I don't think that's a positive term. Just for.
Well, as far as in the community wise,
absolutely.
Ivan's name has a lot of power behind it.
Absolutely. I'm just saying I don't think that he would consider that a positive, like, because I think he looks at himself, as so many of us do, as like with the people, not, you know, a big wig. But I get what you're saying. He's very influential.
He's very humble.
Yeah.
He's very humble.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think, Ann?
Yeah, I don't know him that well, but the fact that I know him at all, you know, like, and he was introduced as someone who had worked for Sheila Jackson Lee.
Absolutely.
That's how
and he's done a lot of work, and he's got an amazing story. Hopefully we'll have him on soon. I see that Jalad McShay says Mayor Turner is going to get it next week. All the other folks on the screen are qualified and experienced, but it's his to lose. I would agree. I
agree.
I think we're looking at Congressman Sylvester Turner, and I think we'll be in good hands, right? I think.
You know what comes up for me with him is Ed Emmett. I think you're right in your hesitancy about, you know, maybe it's somebody else's turn. And I think about some of the great young candidates that we have had here in Harris County, just surprising and phenomenal. And one of whom I wish he's sort of running for this, but then I don't want him to be where he is.
Yes.
But I think you know, I don't know if there's really anybody like that in the pool, but if there was, I think that I'd be for that candidate.
Absolutely. And I think Ann and Antonio and everybody else, it's a very interesting space to be in, because had this been an open seat, I think it would be a totally different conversation. And I actually think it would have had some. Let's look at races like Colin Allred, who's running for U.S. Senate here in the state of Texas. We see that with Kamala Harris's entry as the new presumptive Democratic nominee, there's a new Obama-esque enthusiasm, a Beto-esque enthusiasm that is like we're seeing the result. And I don't even think it's been measured. It's kind of like when the hurricane goes over and you don't even know what the actual impact was until afterwards, when you can fly over with a hurricane and this and that. I think when you think about when I'm watching Wolf Blitzer at the screen on CNN and it's election night and you're looking at the percentages and the votes for each state, I'm one of those nerds who takes it a step further. I want to know which counties are in and which counties are not. And I'll never forget on the night when Beto O'Rourke ran, like his election night for U.S. Senator against Ted Cruz, I remember, let's see, what year was that? Was that 2018?
Mm.
What year was that? What year was Beto O'Rourke?
It was 2020.
I don't remember.
That's so
I was just
crazy.
looking
Oh,
at
it was 18. Let me tell you why I know it was 18. That's when we got Lena Hidalgo, remember?
Lena Hidalgo, that's right.
Lena Hidalgo. So it was 2018. I'm trying to remember. I was living in Texas then. I remember looking and seeing that Harris County wasn't even in yet. And he was like within a percentage point, right? And if y'all remember in 2018 on election night, it was like something up with the machines or something. So they had to allow an extra hour for people to vote. Remember that in 2018?
Yeah.
And so I was like, whoa, if Harris County is not in and he's this close, he may take it. I say all of that to say an open congressional race in the 18th congressional district would have added to Colin Allred's numbers. Does that make sense? Because now you have a competitive congressional race where you have, imagine if all those people, right? All these people, imagine if they were hiring staff, putting people on the ground while they're knocking on doors saying, vote for Turner, vote for Edwards, vote for Boykins, vote for Johnson. Guess who those people are also going to vote for? Colin Allred. You get it?
Correct.
So, like, that is an opportunity that we won't have, and 80 or 90 people will get together in a union hall somewhere and decide who will represent the 500,000 or so people in the 18th congressional district.
Do we think that that's fair? I mean, let's say I'm not a precinct chair, okay? Let's say I'm just a regular constituent of Congressional District 18.
Uh-huh.
I want my vote, since if I live, let's say I live there, I want my vote to matter. And, I'm gonna go out on a limb and do a no, but I don't care because me, Darrell, I don't care about anybody else what they think of me. But I'm going to say that if you really don't want so and you want so and so to be the next congressperson to represent you, then you as a constituent of your precinct need to reach out and find out who your precinct chair is if you have one.
Oh, agreed.
Call them.
That's the way it's supposed to.
Email them.
Yes.
And tell them. Go ahead.
That's literally the way it's supposed to work. So the same way, like, your congressperson gets a vote and you don't on the House of the Floor, your senator gets a vote but you don't, right? You get to choose who that person is. In the same way, you could call your congressperson's office. These people's numbers are public information. You can call the Democratic or absolutely, and you can call them and say, hey, this is what I think. Now, also understand that mechanism it's not really applied a lot. So because every decision that's made is based on pressure, right? So every time you want something, you want your council member to do this, right? But at the same time, there's a company, there's an organization, there's a lobbyist who's getting a fat check, right? Pulling this way. So it's a tug of war. And so we have to make sure that our pull, right, is strong enough to where we're organized to where this person knows if you do not follow the call of the people, not only will we replace you, but ... right?
That's right. Because, I mean, if you're I'm a precinct chair. And so if I don't do what my constituents, want in my community, and I don't vote the way they want or endorse a candidate who they want, the general constituency of my constituents says, well, no, I don't want this person. I want this person. I have to do what my constituents want me to do and what's best for my precinct. Mm-hmm. And if I don't do that, then they can find somebody to run against me and take my chair away from me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But also,
go ahead.
A lot of precinct chairs that are precinct chairs, the only reason they're precinct chairs is because nobody wants to see because we don't get paid for it. We don't get a stipend. We don't get any help from anybody except for the candidate.
Well, and I think that is, I can talk. Go ahead, Ann.
So I'm a precinct chair too, and a member, as you also lovingly said, of the cult, which is, I mean, you and I came up out of the same campaign, I think, into this work. So I think there's the people who are crazy enough to actually be active. I think that's to think that they're not cultish followers. Mm-hmm. But the thing that you're saying is this is the thing that's very weird to me about this is I do not live in the 8th congressional district, and yet I have a 1/80th of a voice to decide who the 18th congressional district gets. And then that person is an incumbent. And that struck me in the SB 15 race too. You know, there was this Molly Cook won that first one, and now she's suddenly an incumbent. And that momentum that you were talking about earlier, that it's hard to beat an incumbent even when it's this kind of slow or short-term thing. In the case of SB 15, she can say, "I am Senator of District 15." And I think that carried a little bit of weight.
Well, not only that, in 2 years, because here's the real reason why it's really hard to replace an incumbent. This person is going to get into office. They're going to get to do all of the constituent district stuff, right? Which is going to graduations, sending proclamations out, like that stuff. They're also going to get to do the DC stuff. So they're going to raise the money with the lobbyists. So in 2 years, you're going to have to go against that if you want to win. And that is very, very, very hard. So, yeah. And July McShay is asking, can these 6 also run to close out the remaining term? Yes, they can. But it's going to kind of be like you're going to spend all of this money to get into a runoff, because there will be a runoff. Let's be clear. November 5th, we're going to know the 2 that are going to be at the top of the runoff. And then a month later, December 5th or something, let's just say you win. You're going to be a member of Congress for a month, right? And then the person who actually won the actual seat is going to get to serve 2 years. You say what now?
Crazy.
Yeah.
With the 80 votes of the precinct chairs.
Absolutely. With the 80 votes of the precinct chairs. And then in 2 years, whoever they selected. But it's not to say that it's not impossible, because it will be incumbent upon that person. I think it's a blessing and a curse, because on one hand, hypothetically, there are really big shoes to fill. And so imagine stepping into that. Have you ever got a new job and you interviewed and this and that, and then they hired you, and then it was like, oh snap, this is a lot, right? Some of these HISD teachers who took that money for the new what they call the thing, the miles thing, where they were paying them $80,000, and then they all jumping ship, right? So imagine that happening, and then you get. What's the DA? Kim Ogd, right? It's going to be a lot of pressure. So then you get and the whole Kim Ogd, I'll be honest, I was in Detroit during the whole ordeal, and I didn't understand. I thought Kim was good. I thought I was part of the cadre that helped get her elected. I was like, what did she do? Why does everybody hate Kim Ogd? But that could happen.
Bless your heart for that.
You say what now?
I said, bless your heart for that.
Really? Well, yes. So we have July McShay on the line. Give us your thoughts.
Girl, I'm going to hang up soon.
Okay, cool.
Nice talking. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Adam.
I'm glad you're holding this space. I'm glad you're holding this space. And I posed the question right before I called in, just for the conversation for those who come back. And I'm glad Adrian answered it, because it is an open race. All of them can jump in it. But do you think that it would be even better if the person is the same person,
Oh.
So I'll say the presumptive person, in my opinion, is Mayor Turner.
Absolutely.
And yes, I'm going to always call him Mayor Turner unless his title changes.
Mm-hmm.
He's Mayor Turner to me, right?
Absolutely.
So if he's a presumptive person, considering who the precinct, according to the line, right, the rumor mill, so to speak, he has it in the bag in terms of the number of chairs, the requisite number of precinct chairs to vote for him next week.
Mm-hmm.
So if he also jumps in the special election and gets that, to me, that's more beneficial. It's just me.
Agreed.
That's more beneficial.
Agreed.
To me, as a resident of Congressional District 18 for these past 4 months, that's more of a benefit to the constituents, So less
Transition.
transition.
Yeah.
You know, so that means they can get in there day one doing the job. We also know that he comes with a team.
Absolutely.
You know, and so that means Houston's going to have a whole bunch of spots opening up too, because there are people who will leave various roles to go work for Mayor Turner, whether
Absolutely.
they're working in his district office here in Houston or if
In
they're
DC.
in DC, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that special election, if he and the others will also run for that. Even if I didn't think I could, even if I were in this race, if I was one of those 6 and I felt like, well, I'm in this race, I want this, but I know Turner's probably going to get it, because somebody's probably thinking like that, right? But they have the courage to run. And I always love when people run for office, even if I don't like them. I love when they run. At least they got the courage to do it, because it's a big bite, right?
Right.
But what if they win that special election, right? Because there are going to be a lot of names that's going to come up. There's going to be some random ass people, probably about 18 people, right? Some folks we ain't never heard of, right? So that's going to make it more advantageous.
True.
I think someone goes in.
Let her finish.
Real quick, let me finish. I think someone, I'm a professor, so I am long.
Absolutely. No, do your thing.
I think someone goes in and they take advantage of, from November 5th to January, what is it? January.
Like I don't know if it's the 20th. I think Congress actually gavels in before. Like the 5th or actually I think it's January 1. They actually come in January 1. Yeah, absolutely. January 1st.
For 2 months.
Yeah.
Just shy of 2 months. You know, and they can do something.
Right. Well, and
rather it be the person who's going to hold the seat in 119th Congress. That would be my preference.
Absolutely. And to your point, seniority also comes into play, because that person immediately, this new Congress that's coming in, they immediately go to the top of the list of the new Congress because they have more.
The district.
It absolutely does. And I totally agree with you.
They can serve in leadership on certain committees because they've been in there longer than all the other new people who will be joining this new Congress.
Absolutely.
I apologize. I get excited over this.
No, and listen, and I'm excited that you called in. I hope other people would do it too. Next week, y'all got to call in. We're going to do this every Friday. To the folks that are running the boards, like, bill me for it. We're going to do 2 hours every Friday, like, because this is what needs to happen. We need a space where, you know, and hopefully July, Antonio, whoever else, like, y'all can come actually in. Like, over here, there's a couch. This is going to be a regular thing. Today was just supposed to be the pilot, and I'm loving it. But Congress convenes, according to Adrian Bell, on January the 6th, 2025. So that person, I totally agree. And I don't think it would be horrible if it was Turner. Like, let me be clear. Mayor Turner would come into this thing, and I think that he would bring he brings experience, he brings a network, he also brings charisma that is unmatched. I mean, and money. And I think not only for the race itself, but also for the district. I think he's in a very unique position to be able to bring resources to the district. But if I had to choose between, okay, we got a candidate over here, Mayor Turner, who is like, I mean, it is his to lose, right? And I think on day one, we'd be good to go. I think he's going to bring the money. He's going to bring the experience. He's going to bring all the connections, the city, the state, the federal government. Got it, right? But then on the other hand, we might have to buy the starter home, right? Get pre-approved for the starter home, save up some money, you know, like put somebody in and build them up. Part of the reason why Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, think about it. She's known everywhere. When I moved to Detroit, people were like, oh, Sheila Jackson Lee. And I'm like, wow. Like, you don't realize it till you go elsewhere. And that's because of the longevity. Right. The longevity that she was, you know, that she had. She had 30 years in Congress, which is a very strong thing. So, yes.
Yeah. And Turner would not be there for 30 years.
There you go. There you go. And I think and maybe that is a good compromise, July, as you mention it. Maybe Turner is in, if here's the thing. Let me tell you something. If Mayor Turner were to say, "Hey, I'm running for Congress. I'm going to serve 6 years because of X, Y, and Z," because, I want to prepare, I want to be, in the space to hold it over, I'm all for it. I'll be on Team Turner because he would allow the people of the 18th Congressional District to actually have an election. And what's his name? I'm looking for his name in here. Pedro Valencia put a very poignant point in the comments, and I want to get both of y'all's responses to it. He said, "I hate to put you on the spot, but you're dancing around the elephant in the room. The 18th district should have not been put in this situation. We need a hard discussion about members of Congress serving 20 plus years and passing away in office." And that is something to actually consider. We've seen it with Dianne Feinstein, right? Who was literally wheeled in, right? And it's like, I understand there has to be that respect, but if my grandfather, who's 81, was Dianne Feinstein, like, the family would have had to have a coming to Jesus meeting, right? Like, we would not have allowed that to happen. But you're absolutely right. We don't have a system. Now, I will say this. In Michigan, they do it totally different. So in Michigan, they actually have term limits for the legislature. So state reps and state senators actually have, like, you can't serve since the 70s, like some
50 years,
right?
Like,
Amen.
Okay.
I'll say it, right? Like Mayor Whitmire, 50 years.
There you go. There you go. And so what ends up happening is you're constantly, like, pushing people through, right? You're constantly looking for that next, the next crew, the next cohort of people to come through, to serve and then to move on. And absolutely, I think this could have been no one wanted this to happen, but, like, this is the spot that we're in, that 80 or 90 people are going to get to choose, and the people technically won't have a voice. And there's so much enthusiasm that could have been put towards, like, increasing the numbers for Harris County. Yes.
Can I respond?
Absolutely.
So when you say the people, I want to quantify that, right?
Yes.
The people, 750,000
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Yes. That's about the average size
Absolutely.
of the congressional district, right?
Absolutely.
We don't get to vote.
Right.
Right. I didn't vote for this precinct chair. I inherited her because I moved across the street. I literally moved from one side of Washington to the other.
Wow.
And came into a new district. Now, am I pleased that I lived in the Congresswoman's district? Yes, because she's the Congresswoman, right? Because I was in Lizzie Fletcher. I don't call her the Congresswoman. I call her Lizzie Fletcher.
Right.
And, attitude. But, so let's talk about the longevity, the terms, and not retiring, right? The reason why they can do that, not just in Feinstein's case, but just in general, why people stay so long is people enjoy power.
Yes.
And we can't act like they don't,
Yes.
People enjoy power. I love Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She did the same thing.
Yes.
She should have retired when Obama was in prison. Yeah. And then the same thing that, Obama wanted to do, Trump did it within less than a month, or within like a month or 5 weeks of the election. Coney Barrett winning.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's one thing. So let's talk about the age thing, right? Yes, it matters how long they serve. If you're more senior in age, or as we've been saying tonight, seasoned, perhaps you have an exit plan that does not include illness and death, right? You have an exit plan, and you're creating a pipeline of young leaders, right? But that's not what's happening.
Absolutely.
And we can't act like it is. The other problem is, the bigger problem is, and I'm speaking for our community. I can't speak for nobody else because I've been black my whole life. I ain't new black. I ain't kind of black. I'm black, right? And my black ass life.
Say that again. Say that again, because you broke up a little bit.
And we hear that so much in politics. And people haven't quite said that in.
You're breaking up, Professor. Professor McShay. But
One of them,
go ahead. You were
right?
breaking up. You were breaking up a little bit.
Oh, I was saying, people say that, such and such doesn't have the experience. None of these candidates have the experience for that role.
Right.
Whitmire had never been a mayor. He had
Right.
never worked in municipal politics.
Mm-hmm.
Right? At least Sheila Jackson Lee had worked as a city councilwoman.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Hodges had been on the county level, appointed or not.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda Edwards had been elected citywide
Absolutely.
for at-large seat, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we cannot ignore the fact that we are often told, Black people,
Yes.
that when we're young or if we've never done something before, well, you don't have enough experience. You need to wait your turn. And that's not just in politics. That's also in organizations. You got to wait your turn. No,
Right.
and I'm trying not to cuss on here. No, I don't have to wait my turn.
Right.
The Constitution has set out what the requirements are, and that is that I reach a certain age and have been a resident for a specific amount of time, right?
Absolutely.
According to Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, right after the preamble.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, and I'm speaking to Black people, I don't know how I work in the Latino and Hispanic community, but we have to stop telling people, wait your turn.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take your turn. Don't wait. Any young person who hears this, don't wait for nobody to get
take your
shit.
turn.
Take it. If you want it, take your turn.
Yes.
Take your turn. And I land.
Absolutely. Listen.
You are not lying, baby. I agree. I may not be Black, but I totally agree. Because it's the same issue in the Hispanic community.
Snaps to what Professor McShay said. And I think, I'm the founder of Houston Justice, a nonprofit organization. We're nonpartisan. And the reason why that organization was founded is because in 2014 going into 15, when everything happened with Ferguson, I was very, very upset, very angry. And it seemed like everybody around me, when I thought about like the pillars, right? So the traditional organizations, they had just gotten used to, for instance, something happens in Houston in the Black community. Bishop Dixon hosts a town hall at his church. There is a dais of 30 people across the stage, and we talk about it. He gets to host it, and we move on. And that has been that's just the way things have worked. So we were like, or me and some others were like, no, like we'll just do it ourselves. Now, through that same vein, I'll say Tina Kingshill, who was in the comments earlier, but she's probably going on to sleep. Tina Kingshill and Rain Eatman now run their own nonprofits, right? They volunteered with Houston Justice, and then they now run their own. That is the flow. That's the way that it should work. I now get to sit back and serve on their boards, right? Because that is the growth that is supposed to happen. If you're out there, I'm looking for someone to take over Houston Justice. Literally, when I moved to Seattle, and then when I came back, and then I moved to Detroit, I was hoping that it would slowly just kind of drift away, right? Or that somebody would take it. And I think, you should work in a way that you are preparing the next, not to literally just take your place, but to do what it is that they are supposed to do, right? To fill their void. I see Aisha Wilson, who ran. Aisha, what district did you run for? I see Larry McKenzie, who's run for office. I think I look forward to the day that I remember Anthony Collier, and who was it with you, Anthony Collier, who now works for the NAACP, who was president of the UT Law Review, who I am just so proud of. Hopefully, when he comes back to Houston, he is, like ready to run for office and ready to take this. I see Carla Brown, who's run for school board, right? There are a lot of people in the comments right now. Adrian Bell, who's running for Congress. Lachelle Scott, who is a city council member of the Fired Up 558, right? So there are a lot of people who are in here. And I think if there is like something on your, like if you're serving an organization, if you're a member of an organization, right? Or if you work at a school, sometimes the whole point of you working at that school is to inspire you to start one and not do the stuff that they're doing at that school. Or to become a consultant, to take what you've learned and to go out and do something with it. Sometimes that's the whole point of it. If you see a problem like we did in 2017, I was reading an article in the Atlantic magazine, and they were talking about the fact that 75% of those that are in jails in places like Houston, Dallas, Philly, LA, Chicago, 75% of those people that are in jails haven't been convicted of a crime, that they are there merely because they couldn't afford to bond themselves out, right? And so I put two and two together. I put my CO hat and my organizer hat together, and I said, how do they get to register to vote? And what does that look like? It was genuinely a curiosity. That's where Project Orange came from, right? That's how I spearheaded the very first jail-based voting initiative in the state of Texas, a model that is now used in other cities, counties, states across the United States of America, in places like Florida and South Dakota and so on and so on and so on, right? Like sometimes the place that you're put in is for that. And there should be a whole lot more people up there. There should be a whole lot more people that are running, because here's what happens. If there are 2 people in a race or 3 people in a race, it's easier for that front runner to win. Imagine if there were 20 people. 20 people. It makes it that much harder for that first place person to really win. It makes it more equitable, right? I see Larry McKenzie saying, no, so July said bail, unable to make bail. I said bond. I meant bail. July Moshe says, I'm still here, just unloading the car, heading into the house. If you would like to join this conversation, I invite you, 281-734-5683. I would love to hear more people adding to the conversation. We're going to do this every week, every Friday, and I would love to have some of you join. We'll probably have a couple of those people or a couple of other candidates to learn not more about their platform, but to learn more about them. I think people who are elected officials, people who founded organizations, people who do like a lot of this amazing stuff that you look at and you say, oh my gosh, that's amazing. These are just regular people. And I think when you're exposed to that, you're more likely to do that yourself. In the comments, put a 1 if you're still there. Also, please share this. Can you click share? Can you click like? Can you click share? I'm trying to do like the YouTube people do. They usually point those things out. But yes, there's an open congressional seat, the 18th congressional district, and we have to figure out who is going to take that place. People still have time to go and to do this. Here's the thing. Y'all that are in this room right now, there need to be way more people paying attention to stuff like this. If you wonder how they were able to take over the school district, they did it because there was a very small group of people. The Larry McKenzies, the Travis McGees, the Tahir Charleses, right? The Alma Allens, the Kathy Ballard Bluford Danielses, right? Who were ringing the alarm, but I don't think people didn't care. I think they didn't know. I think a lot of people have so much that's going on in their lives. People are trying to keep the lights on, put food on the table. They're trying to go to the grocery store. They're trying to walk their dog. They're trying to do everything else, and it's just really hard to keep up with stuff like this. So that's my whole point of offering this space, because there's a whole lot of education that needs to. Yes, Gary Monroe. Can we talk a little bit about Gary Monroe? Can we talk about put Gary in the chat if you have a Gary Monroe story. Here's the thing with Gary Monroe. He was a provocateur in the best way. Okay. There were times with Gary where I was like, yeah, Gary, yeah, right? And then it would get to a certain point and I'd be like, dude, I just, you want to do what now? We going where? We doing what? Right? But it was necessary because Gary knew that when you get the eyes and you get the attention, that's when people start paying attention. I'll never forget at the HISD school board meeting, him up there with the singles. He had the dollars. They literally called his, y'all know at the school board meeting or city council how they're like, we have Carla Brown to be followed by Gary Monroe. And then Carla got up there and said whatever. And then Gary comes up there and he's throwing dollars like he's the flower man at a wedding or as if he's at the strip club. And he's like, you want some money? You want some money? And I mean, it was just like, I was like, what is he doing? But those are the moments. Sometimes you need to be shaken, and sometimes we have to shake the people around us, right? Because here's the thing. I'm 37, going on 38. I turn 38 next month. And over the past 10 years, listen, I'm not holding a megaphone no more, right? There's a new cohort that is doing that, right? I'm still contributing to the movement, but call Uncle Darrell to buy the water, right? Let me cash app you $50 for some signs, right? Like that is the role that I'm playing now. And I think all of us have to play a role, right? So ask yourself, what role are you playing in this broader movement? Another Gary story. I remember he wore a bumblebee costume. Do y'all remember that one? I just remember there were moments where I think the top tier HISD moment, and I know I'm not wearing cufflinks. I'm not wearing cufflinks because I was rushing to get over here and I was like, oh yeah, my cufflinks on before I leave. And then I was here and no cufflinks. But I just remember Wanda Adams, Jalinda Jones, and Rhonda Skillern Jones. That was like, I used to tune into those school board meetings because it was fire. Okay. Because all three of them are very, very transparent. And they're very real, like Kathy Bluford Daniels. Another one that just tells it like it is. Sylvester Turner on the House floor. Like part of his appeal was the fact that he was not, and I'm talking about on the House floor and also as mayor, whether I agreed with him on certain policy things or not. It was the fact that not only was he the studied attorney, he was like, he could also turn on the black church thing, which like I would see it and I knew what it was. But some of the white folks were like, oh my gosh, it's just so exciting. I just don't know why. Well, if you grew up going to church every Sunday, you know exactly what it was. And he was and continues to be able to turn that on. He just talked down the house at SJL's funeral. And yes, so play your role. Like at the end of the day, it's about having, like everybody doesn't have to do the same thing. Is there somebody on the line? Is that Professor McShay? Anyway.
I was muted.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, now I can hear you. But go ahead.
I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you talk.
Got it.
Go ahead.
So play the role that you're supposed to play. Everybody doesn't have to hold the megaphone. Everybody doesn't have to run for office. Everybody doesn't have to be a staffer. Like, what is your contribution to the thing? And I have this story that I talk about sometimes, where there's a jersey for everyone. I'm gonna tell this really quick story, and then we're gonna let the person join. Long story short, I was in a band at Westbury High School, Sensational Sounds of the Southwest. Put in the chat if you too were a band kid. I played the saxophone and I played trumpet and marching band. Anyway, our very first away game was in Brenham. If you know anything about Brenham, Texas, you know it's up to 90 and there are more cows than people. We got on the bus and we headed up to Brenham and we pull up to the stadium and it's like we just drove through all this nothingness and now we pull, you know, the buses pull in. And you could see the other side of the stadium. Now, you know, if you know anything about this, you know, the band gets there before like the game starts because we got to march in and do all of that. Well, their whole side was filled with green, like filled. So we're marching in, and you talk about intimidating, and then this is what really took the cake. To my left, it was their band. They had so many people at this game that their band had to sit on our side, right? So if I'm intimidated playing the trumpet, imagine what the football players felt. Talk about home field advantage. And what I realized was that, I mean, it was just green. Just, it's like, I'm like, do they give out T-shirts before the game? Like, how does everybody have on Brenham paraphernalia, right? And what I would later realized when we went to the concession stand, when we looked at who was at the ticket booth, the people understood that it wasn't just the players' parents that were in the stands. It wasn't just the band parents or the cheerleader parents that were in the stands. It was the people who once played for Brenham that go there on Friday nights because it ain't nothing else to do. And that is their heyday. That is their contribution. They buy a ticket and they come in. The people who volunteered at the concession stand when we went down for the third quarter, they were volunteers. It said Brenham volunteer across their shirt, and they were proud to do that. There was a jersey for everyone. A jersey for everyone. So we have to think as a community, right? If everybody plays their part, whatever that is, and it doesn't have to look like that person's part or this person's part. If everybody, Travis McGee has a saying. He says, if everybody does something, everything will get done. And if everybody puts on a jersey and does something, then the community as a whole moves together. Let's hear from whoever just joined on the line. Who we got? You're muted if you're talking. I can't hear you. They said someone new joined.
Mr. Douglas, I think that is Gary Monroe's widow.
Oh, Erica Albert.
Her name is Erica Albert.
Erica, I know Erica. Yes, I'm a fan.
And,
go ahead, Erica.
I told her to call in when you were telling such great stories about Mr. Gary Monroe.
Is she still there? Erica, are you still there? Erica,
I don't hear her.
Erica, call back if you can. Larry McKenzie says, and whoever the candidate for the 18th district is should reach out to the role players. Yes, my son was in the band at Westbury and is now, oh yeah, I know at Jackson State. You told me that because I have plans, I think on September the 28th, I think they're going to be in Houston, but I have plans to go to the North Carolina A&T and the SCSU game. Y'all, I'm a band head. Okay, I love HBCU marching bands, and I like to travel for the games and live vicariously through the. I didn't get the HBCU experience. Remember, y'all heard the story. For those of y'all that have been here for the whole time, put a 2 in the chat, please. Put a 2 in the chat if you were here when I was first telling the story about me working at the prison instead of going to a brick and mortar institution. Yes, a 2. Okay, Professor McShay. Oh, August 25th. Yes, August 25th. They're playing TSU, Larry McKenzie. It's wild, y'all. I will say, I just randomly, I got to stop going to that HEB on 288 and McGregor after just rolling out of the bed because, like, if I actually, like, get a haircut and sponge my hair and put cocoa butter on my face and like moisturize my beard and go to the store, I don't see nobody. But if I say, I'm going to run to the store right quick, I bump into somebody every time. And I ran into Larry McKenzie one time at HEB, and we took a selfie, and I didn't post it because his eyes were closed and my face was crusty. So, but Larry McKenzie is another one that we need to put in some of these spaces. Here's what I love about Larry McKenzie, and I'll put Travis McGee in this same category with Gary Monroe. They are fearless, and they put everything on the line. When I first met Larry McKenzie, I didn't know that he was also a teacher, because I was like, who's this speaking truth to power? And he works for the district. If y'all don't know, teachers and, interestingly, prison guards, in my opinion, are two groups of people that are not allowed to speak that should be allowed to speak. Because I believe if the general public knew what was actually going on in these classrooms, in these schools, what the rules actually were, what these teachers are actually put through, there would be an uproar. But once again, I say, everybody's working to keep the lights on. Everybody's, I won't say distracted, because that is belittling the actual what is going on. I think everyone is overstretched. So it's really hard to like be engaged and know what is going on. But Larry McKenzie went to the I wouldn't even call them the board, because they're not elected. They were handpicked by it's a long story. We're not about to have a civics lesson here. But he went, he spoke to them, and they ended up taking his job. And I'll never forget, him being fired and assuming that there would be an unrest. I don't know if y'all have ever seen, there's a meme, and it's like a group of people, and there's one guy on the other side. He's like the boss, right? And he pulls the whip back and he snaps. And then all of a sudden, it's not just the one person who he snapped this against, and now everybody has crowded around, right? And that boss is now cowering because they feel the wrath, because there's power in numbers. That's what democracy looks like. And I think that it was a travesty that, I won't say the powers that be, but that the people who Larry McKenzie, and I'm not going to say everybody didn't stand up. I'm just saying I expected there to be many more. And I think when you demonstrate that you will acquiesce, right? When you demonstrate that when you are whipped, right? They'll do it again and again. And it's a cautionary tale, because we've seen this happen in other places before. We saw it in Detroit, where before they took the city and removed their city council members, what did they do first? They did the school district. And then when they said, oh, we'll do this and just go with it. And then they put a board of managers over the city, right? So we've got to do this. We have got to put on a jersey and figure out where it is that you fit in the grand scheme of things. But I will pass it to Professor McShay for reflections.
Perfect. And I was tearing his Frenchies up. But let me say this. I love how you told the story about going to Brenham and how they all had on green and everybody knew their role. And you quoted Travis. One of the things I love to share, and I probably post about once a year, we have to live life as community like we drive down 45, right? You know what each lane is for. Mm-hmm. And so everybody has a lane. Mm-hmm. And what we don't do a good job of, the gatekeepers definitely don't do a good job of, they don't yield to others. Mm-hmm. And in order for the traffic or for progress to be made, we have to yield to others. We have to allow others to get on the freeway, so to speak. We have to be okay when people exit the freeway for whatever reason. If somebody says, I remember when I left the NAACP, I talk about me, I don't have to talk about other people. Mm-hmm. When I left full, 100%, yes. Right? Yes. I left everything on the table. My work spoke for itself. You ain't seen nothing like it since.
Absolutely.
But I walked away because no one was going to pressure me and say, "Hey, you can't get off the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna keep you in traffic." No, I'm gonna exit here, and we have to get comfortable enough with knowing when to speak up for ourselves, knowing when to remove ourselves, but also when to kick down the gate. And
Mm-hmm.
like Larry said, there are gatekeepers, but I'll go back to our community, and we have to shift our community. In our community, there's a reason why the gatekeepers exist, because of their experiences oftentimes, or what experiences have been passed down to them.
Mm-hmm.
But at this juncture of our existence in these United States, in the Republic, at this juncture, we should not have to be guided and kept inside gates. So you get in your lane, you do what you need to do in your lane. You
Absolutely.
use your strength.
Absolutely.
Use your strength to help others. One of my favorite scriptures, Romans chapter 15. Strength is not for status. This is straight out the Bible, especially the
Mhm.
Message translation. Strength is not for status. It is for service. It's how you take care of God's people, right?
Yes.
But too often we're self-centered, or we getting a check, and now we done been bought.
Yes. Yes.
So that's why a lot of people gatekeep too. It's not just the power, it's the power that's overpowering them and giving them a little piece of change. And I'll go back to mute.
No, that is so very true. I was part of a meeting earlier today. Robert Williams convened a group of people. And Robert Williams is one of those people who is always he's always working. Whether he talks about it publicly, he's not one of those selfie takers, right? One of our elected officials, I'm probably going to talk about this next time, is like, it's cringeworthy, the selfies that they take, and the places that they take them, right? We'll talk about that's a whole nother thing next time. But Robert Williams convened a group of people today. We actually had a call like last week, and it's about building power in the Black community. Not trying to replace any organization, but just building a side conversation series to talk about, like, what does it look to organize, right, in a different way. And the part 2 of that was today, where we met at 11, and I had a barbershop appointment at 2:30. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be out of there. 11, maybe 12, maybe 11 to 1. And then I could like go upstairs and like get, and then go to the barbershop. We didn't get out of there until 2:30. I was almost late to my barber appointment. But, we were just talking about that very thing earlier today. The fact that, there's so much work to be done. And it's going to take a whole lot more of us getting involved. And it doesn't have to look like what you think it has to look like. Sometimes it's working the table at events. Sometimes it's sharing this thing right here. Click share. Please click share. Can you click share so other people can see and they can know that there's an election that's going on and what the process is, and they can watch it back? Like, these are the things, right, that we have to do. And we have to do it in a way. One of my ideas, Professor McShay, was to do a voter guide, but I didn't want it to be boring. Okay, I didn't want it to be, legalese and 30 pages and right. I wanted it to feel like a magazine, right? And I wanted people to be able to flip through and to be able to understand the way I would explain it to my family, what each role does, and what the state senate does, and what this person does, what state reps, and how it all ties together, because it's necessary. And a lot of people said, well, the League of Women Voters already does that. Well, I can't think of any people from the neighborhoods that I'm talking about, right? And not to knock them,
what the League of Women Voters are,
right? Or that would find their behemoth of a book. It's like the Yellow Pages. Some of y'all too young to know what the Yellow Pages was. But it's like, this is not digestible. And if this is the way that we're talking about elections, and this is the way that we're talking about like what each role does and how, then we're going to consistently leave people out. And we've got to do something about that. Thank you. Jackie White Anderson, the president of the Houston Federation of Teachers, is in the room. All right. Saw y'all show out a couple of weekends ago. Was it last weekend?
Last week.
Saw y'all at Discovery Green. I honked my horn. I honked.
Darrell, I would say to your point that what's stopping you? What's stopping you from creating that booklet? Like, what
Absolutely.
do you need?
No, we're doing it.
How can we assist you?
We're literally doing it. And so I'll tell you. So Coretta Brown, Rashawn Evans. I'm trying to think of who else. We did a photo shoot a couple of years ago, and this is something that, and I'm pretty sure, July, you've experienced this, and there are people on this live stream right now that have experienced this. We had a group of people, and we were meeting. We would have Zoom meetings. This was during the pandemic. We would have Zoom meetings every Thursday at 6 or something. And that first meeting, it was exciting because we were talking about this like new thing, right? And then the next meeting, a couple of people were absent, but we were still moving forward, right? I'm not talking about Coretta and Rashawn, and I'm trying to think of who else was it. I'm not talking about the subjects because they did their part. We asked them to show up to a photo shoot. We had a photographer that did headshots and different stuff for all of them. And then we had, Cindy George from the Houston Chronicle, who literally, and I got a Cindy George story that I'll get to later. My ADHD is showing. But we took the photos. We had Cindy George wrote the pieces on each of them. And then the group started falling apart. And we see this over and over, right? Like in this political moment, don't let it be misunderstood that the excitement around Kamala Harris entering the race is finite. It is not eternal, right? It's sort of like when you see a police shooting and then everybody's, "Rah!" and then it gets quieter and quieter, right? So you have a finite amount of time that we do not know to organize, to get petition signatures, and to cast the net, right? To cast the net of people that are fired up about this issue, about this election, about this whatever, and to get them looped in. Because after that moment, when it falls off the news cycle, nobody's coming again. And that's what ended up happening with that project. And I have a saying where I put things in the crock pot. Sometimes your idea is not ready yet, right? And you can't eat chicken that's not fried all the way through, right? It may look good on the outside, but if you know that it's not ready, don't put it out there for people to eat. And that's what happened with this magazine. And so 2022, we didn't do it. And in 2023, it really wasn't time to do it either. And I think in 2022, I actually ran for office in Michigan. In 2023, wasn't time to do it. And I think right now we're at a space where it makes sense. And Professor McShay, I will loop you in to all of that. Thank you very much, Miss Akua Hunter, who is like a mother to me, who we were talking earlier about the roles that people play. Akua Fayette, if you wonder, if y'all that have known me for a while, you know that I used to be a whole lot more. Now, keep in mind, I still keep the grenades. I just throw them more strategically, right? And not as often, because that's what comes with age. With age comes wisdom. And Akua Fayette is one of those people that used to be able to call and be like, "Nah, Darrell, let's think about this," right? She continues to be a calming, presence in my life, and continues to do work as well. But as we're talking about like different roles that people can play, Cindy George used to write for the Houston Chronicle. And when everything happened in Ferguson, again, I was just talking about like you have the news that happens, right? And then there's this uptick because now people are paying attention to the thing that is on the news, right? And so for a good probably couple of months, like it was like, oh, Black Lives Matter. Well, actually, it was before Black Lives Matter. They were already an organization, but before they came to national prominence the way that they did. And so every other week, it was Fox 26, want you to sit down for this, Channel 13, it was, all this. But before that, right, what happened, Cindy George, who worked for the Chronicle, reached out, and she was like, hey, I would like to, sit down with y'all and do a story. And I honestly thought to myself, why do you want to meet with us? Like, there's not much to talk about. And we actually met at a Starbucks, and I talked her ear off for a couple of hours, the way I've done tonight with y'all. And at the end, I remember leaving and thinking to myself, I've wasted this lady's time, because what is she probably going to write about me, Shakira Dennis, and Damian Thaddeus Jones? That was the three people that founded Houston Justice. And probably a week later, I'm in Kroger, and I see the Houston Chronicle, and like before she even told us, like there was us, and it was like an article. You can Google it. It's like new rising, whatever. Well, from that article, all of a sudden, like resources were coming. People were now further interested in the issue, right? And so that is the role that she played. And the same way I was talking about Sheila Jackson Lee earlier being so pivotal in my life, in everything that I'm doing today, Cindy George plays a huge role in that as well. And absolutely. So, guys, ladies, everybody, this has been great. It is now 9:16 p.m. My dog, if you follow me on Instagram and Facebook, I have a dog at home now since March. He's probably pissed on my living room floor because he should have been walked like 3 hours ago. But this has been fun. I'm going to put my email address on the bottom of the screen. We didn't even talk about doing this, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to see if the folks backstage, so to speak, can put that on the screen. I would love to hear from y'all again tonight. We talked about Sheila Jackson Lee. We talked about her impact on all of our lives. Everybody has a Sheila story. I did not plan on choking up. That's why I was kind of like shocked. I was like, wow. Like usually I know when I'm going to get choked up and I can like prepare for it. But everybody has a Sheila Jackson Lee story, and it is hard to talk about her in the past tense. But I think it serves as a testament. I think no one person fills Sheila Jackson Lee's shoes. No one can. But what I do believe is that there's a huge void that has now been created, and there's been an assignment put on each of us to do more than what we are doing, because now she's no longer on this side with us. We also talked about these 6 people up here. We talked about Amanda Edwards, Mayor Sylvester. Oh, let me start over. Council member Amanda Edwards, Mayor Sylvester Turner, Council member Dwight Boykins. We talked about Representative. I almost called him State Senator. In my opinion, should have been State Senator, but that's another. Don't get mad at me. I know there are some Molly Cook people. I have nothing against her. I just really, like he was one of the ones that really has been consistent in his advocacy and working with us. Letitia Plummer, council member Letitia Plummer, and state representative. Wait a minute. I don't know if Antonio is still on. If she's running for this, does she then have to step aside from her state representative seat?
I'm glad that you stated that, because I was thinking the same thing, her, Jarvis, and possibly Letitia Plummer, but I'm not quite sure what the rules are. So I would not be able to speak on that topic, but that was a question I was hoping that maybe the professor might know.
Mm-hmm. I do know that you cannot be on 2 ballots at the same time. Now, this is a technicality, so technically she's not on a ballot, and I think maybe if she is chosen, then she would have to step aside. And maybe that's the way that works. Let's think about, yeah, that's what it is. Because if you think about it with El Franco.
They're not on the ballot.
There you go.
They're not running for 2 races.
Yes.
So
yes.
The Congresswoman immediately filed her Congress paperwork after the loss.
Absolutely.
It
was literally
December.
Listen, it was Saturday that the runoff was, and she was in there Monday. Because I remember thinking, I was like,
the time. I mean, the time is very specific, right?
Yeah. I didn't think she was going to run. I didn't think she
Jarvis
was
doesn't. Jarvis
well, that's why Isaiah Martin dropped out.
That's why who?
Isaiah Martin dropped out. Because remember, if you go and check right now, he still has a webpage that says he's running for Congressional District 18. And he dropped out of that race when he found out that Sheila had lost mayor and was seeking re-election for her seat.
Which was a very smart move. It was a very smart move because, and folks called.
Well,
Go ahead.
I keep my eye on him because he's a young man, Gen Z, smart, intelligent. I think any position that he runs for, he would be great in.
Absolutely.
But that's just my personal opinion. I love that Gen Z and millennials are stepping out. Amanda Edwards was the first millennial to be elected to city council.
Absolutely. And I think, as I said before, I have nothing against any of those people. And I think, any one of them could do very well. I think I would love to hear Professor McShay's breakdown. I did mine earlier of each of them, and I think Antonio, as you say in de Espanol, did earlier as well. But I don't think we would be served badly by any of these 6 people. I think each of them are proven. Each of them are great. I do think that this is Mayor Turner's race to lose. I think if it was...
Oh, we did forget one.
What's that one?
To me, in my book, he's an unknown. I think his last name is Slater.
Slater from Saved by the Bell?
No, sir.
Okay.
He's an African American. He's an African American male.
Run against Amanda and Congresswoman?
I don't know, but I know he put his name in the hat because it was on Channel 11. They did a whole news report on it, so he's included with those other names that were mentioned, and nobody mentioned him tonight because to me he's an unknown. I've never heard of him until I looked at an article that Channel 11 posted, and he is one of the people that is.
Wow.
I've never heard of him.
I'm looking at President Jackie White Anderson from Houston Federation of Teachers. She says 17 people have expressed interest in the position, and here's what might happen, and I'm curious to know, Professor
Robert Slater, that's his name. He's a businessman.
Okay.
I've never heard of this person. He's an unknown, but God bless him. Yes. He has the right to do so.
Everybody does, and I think there are a lot of...
That's what I was going to say.
Go ahead, Professor McShay.
No, that's what I was going to say. I was just going to, I like to give I want to be very specific, you know, in case any of y'all ever decide that y'all want to run in the morning. According to the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 2.
Absolutely.
Right? Section 2 of Article 1.
Absolutely.
It says no person shall be a representative who shall not have attained to the age of 25 years old. So don't tell nobody.
There you go.
They too young. They 25.
Amen.
They can't.
There you go.
Look, that's how we ended up with Little Latin Lena.
Absolutely.
And I love Lena.
Absolutely.
Miss Lena Hidalgo was the only one who put her name on there.
But here's the thing with that.
Go ahead.
I'm glad you brought Lena up. Here's the thing with Lena. The Constitution provides requirements for U.S. House of Representatives, U.S. Senate. There's not an age requirement to be county judge.
Nope, there is not.
Patriarchy, and the patriarchy and ageism. See, ageism is okay when it's going down, but when we say somebody's too old and we wrong, we being disrespectful. No, we're being honest. Let's be reasonable here. Yes, you can pass away.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in their 20s get a certain chance, and somebody in their 70s get it. the immune systems may fight a little bit longer for one than the other.
That is true.
You know,
that is very true.
Which is true. And we don't talk about death, but I don't consider death anything but a part of life.
Absolutely.
You can't live without dying. So
that is.
You better live. You better do all the things that you want to do. Don't get me to preaching.
We have someone, hey, pass the collection plate. And then open the doors of the church because we got somebody who just, will there be one? Who's on the line? Will there be one?
Oh, you know, the thing.
Wait, Antonio. Someone else just joined.
Oh, wonderful.
Go ahead, caller. Don't tell me they hung up. Well, sounds like they hung up. If you're there, you're muted and we can't hear you. But they tell me someone else has joined. If not, go ahead, Antonio.
Okay, well, if they do join, great. I mean, the more the merrier, correct? Back to what I was saying, Lena Hidalgo, she was only...
Maybe I think we've reached max callers. So if one of y'all want to yield, Antonio, you want to yield your seat to this new person?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll yield. I've had it. I can watch online. Absolutely. Thank you for allowing me to be on your show. I would love to be there in person.
Absolutely. We're going to do this every week. We're going to do this every week. So yeah, there will be opportunities. Let's hear from this other person.
I look forward to tea time at the Black House.
There you go. Next caller, come on in. Hello, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hold on, I can't hear. Hello.
I was going to say, yes, go ahead and introduce yourself. We can hear you.
I am Erica Albert.
Awesome. Thank you for joining.
What is your topic today?
Well, we started by talking about Sheila Jackson Lee. So I gave my Sheila Jackson Lee story, and we invited others to do that as well. And then we got into the race to the 18th Congressional District. So we've got 6 people that are running. And then we sort of got into this topic about like community engagement, people running for office, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and we did at one point have a Gary Monroe moment. So, with love, what I was talking about was the fact that he was provocative and so necessary for the different points, like looking back that we were in. Like he was necessary to keep the conversation going around issues, and that is the role that he played, and he did it so masterfully.
He did. He did it well, like no other. There will never be another Gary Wayne Monroe.
There you go. There you go.
I don't care how many bullhorns you carry.
That is so
I don't
true.
care how many suits you put on.
Absolutely. 5-star general. There will only be one.
I was just about to say he was the one and only 5-star general. There will never be another Gary Wayne Monroe. I don't care how you try and mimic him.
Yes.
There will never be another him.
Absolutely.
His favorite song that he requested be played at his funeral service by me was I Did It My Way. And every single thing that he done, he did it his way.
That is so true.
No matter what he was doing, whether he was fighting for children, teachers, principals, the pig that he fought for.
Yes.
Money.
Real talk.
Schools, cars.
Real talk.
Even in him running for against his opponents in election.
Mm-hmm.
He made a music video to every person that he ran against.
And people that he didn't. And it's interesting that you bring that up because I think that was, I'd never seen that before. When he did I think the Yates one was the first one. And
he made the throw your trays up for Yates?
Yes.
That was for our game. That was just for the game, throw your trays up.
Okay.
And we sold T-shirts for throw your trays up.
Yes. And I remember he did one with about Ansung. I mean, I would
When
just
he did the Flintstone sisters and we came and Sons and I can't think her name right now. But it was he called them the Flintstone sisters. When he was running the first time, when he ran against Wanda Adams, he wrote a song. When he ran against Alma Allen, he wrote a song.
Wow. And that is, we need more fearless people that aren't afraid to enter races, because what you're told is you don't want to run against these people because then you piss them off and then you lose and then they get you fired from your job, right? So like there's one person who expressed interest who actually worked, and I use past tense, for the Harris County Democratic Party. And I think that is a huge leap to make, but I would also, I understand that is a huge risk, right? Like, if Molly Cook didn't run against John Whitmire, I don't think she would have won this last race. Any last words from you, Miss Albert, before we hop off?
You
Go ahead. Wait, you got your hand over the mic and we can't hear you.
No, I
Okay.
said you just said it all.
Okay.
If we're gonna take risks, you may as well go all the way, because
Absolutely.
either way, people are going to talk.
Anyway,
So
that is so
if
true.
they're going to talk, give them something to talk about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Words, such poignant words from the widow of the great Gary Monroe. And
I thank you.
absolutely.
And
Thank
I
you,
would
Virginia.
like to say something that he would say, but I will refrain from being the vulgarity of him. But if you know him, then you know what I want to say.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, he did it his way. He didn't care about what anyone else thought, felt, or thought they might want to do.
Absolutely.
I would say this though. He definitely ain't nobody else got nobody shaking like booty meat.
Absolutely. Very, very true. Thank you so much.
Or a stripper on $2 Tuesday.
Listen. And I talked about that too, and he threw those dollars. So thank you for those words. And thank each of y'all for joining today, hanging with me I thought it was going to be 1 hour. And I was like, okay, this is going to be sort of a pilot. We're going to do this every week. Want to have guests in here. People are going to be able to call in. People are going to be able to video in. There's a couch over here. You can't really see it. There's actually another chair beside me. So we'll be able to have more people. And we'll probably do like a 3-hour episode next Friday, because I'm starting to realize it takes a while before you really get into it. But closing words, I will say thank y'all for joining. I put my email address at the bottom. It's ddouglas@houjustice.org. Again, that is ddouglas@houjustice.org. Don't spell out Houston. It's just houjustice.org. For ways to get tapped into some of the amazing work that I get to be part of through my nonprofit, Houston Justice. Also on this podcast, I'm going to talk about some of my side hustles. So those of y'all that follow me on social media, you know that I flip houses and I flip cars. Well, I'm starting a car rental fleet with Turo. So I'm always about not only building financial stability for myself, but if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you know that I share the game. There's enough for all of us, and I believe that all ships rise when we do that. And the last thing that I will say: find your jersey, find your role in all of this. Number one. Number two, pay attention to the people, places, and things around you, and ask yourself this: which of those are helping me to get closer towards the life that I want to live and the goals that I have? And which of those are pulling me further away? And then adjust. And with that, I bid you adieu until next week.